Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Chris.
Cool but rude.
We've got Vince.
Out on secret Batman missions doing secret Batman things.
And I'm Keo. Hi, welcome to the show. Wow, we got one quote from each side. Well, they were both from the Turtles, I guess.
And I believe both Michelangelo, actually.
Well, both Michelangelo.
No.
Michelangelo.
Cool but rude is not Michelangelo.
Oh.
How dare you?
Is that Raphael?
Raphael
is cool but rude.
Yeah,
Give me a break.
Michelangelo
Exactly.
is the party dude.
Party dude.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So we are reading the Batman Ninja Turtles team up. It was a 6-issue miniseries. It went on to do like 2 other sequels. So there's like a part 1, a part 2, and a part 3. This is just part 1, but a 6-issue miniseries from just a few years ago. What year was this? 17?
2016.
I was gonna say it was
16.
15 or 16 because they kept selling me on Batman versus Superman at the end of the issue.
I know there was an interview with Amy Adams about her Lois Lane character in Batman versus Superman. Like, she is a non-entity in that movie. I'm not sure why they spent a whole page on her talking about her motivations that don't matter in that movie.
Interesting. So I was reading from the definitive edition, which I might have trouble telling what the chapter breaks or the issue breaks because it was all just like in a row. All right, but after we talked about all that, we're going to get into the Amazing Spider-Man #2. We're doing our long read of that, so we're going to get into the 2nd issue ever of Spider-Man with the Vulture and
Tinkerer.
aliens.
the Tinkerer.
Yeah.
Star Miles Morales. Spoiler.
Whoa! All right. Well, we are so Ninja Turtles. We've read Ninja Turtles before on this show. We read the
liked
original
Ninja Turtles.
stuff.
I really liked that one. That one was one of my highlights of last year.
I agree. Yeah, it was a fun comic, fun to read. Even if like it wasn't amazing quality all the way throughout, there's like just so much fun stuff packed into those issues from way back when. Kind of like the same feeling we're getting going through Amazing Spider-Man of like, wow, look at where all this stuff started from, and I can't believe.
Like wow, stuff like wow, they had this like built in that early, or wow, they really diverted. Like, yeah, we'll get to it with Jameson.
Yeah, I mean the original series. I mean Shredder was dead by what, the 2nd or 3rd issue, and they're like, now what?
Now what? Now we're gonna go out of space. Yeah.
This is also and they're meeting with Batman, as I think we said the title, but yeah, they're meeting with Batman, and it feels like it's in the continuity of the New 52, because they mentioned the 0 year, which is a New 52 event in Batman. So,
yeah, and like Damian Wayne is Robin, who's Bruce Wayne's son, and it does feel like it fits in with everything that's going on. And even if it doesn't, like, you get the feeling for it. It does feel like a greatest hits of like Batman stuff and Ninja Turtle stuff mashed together. And the story here, I guess, kind of easier to explain what the whole premise is before we jump into the whole thing. But the Turtles have somehow been stranded in the DC universe, and they are trying to get back into their own home, but the Foot Clan is there, Shredder's there, all that. They're also trying to get back home and all that. So
the Turtles have dimensional portals, if I recall from the cartoon. So this isn't a hop, skip, and a jump for them to go to different multiverses. Like, that makes sense to me.
Yeah,
I don't.
But they're
know
having trouble getting back.
Because their portals are messed up, or they don't have a portal on this side or portal generator to get back home. I'm not sure if this is any Turtle continuity, because I'm not familiar with the Turtles comic continuity. It's not the cartoons. It's not the movies. It doesn't feel
like it matters, you know?
Yeah, it definitely feels like this is the pitch of like a video game adaptation or something like that, where it's like we're taking a greatest hits of Batman and the greatest hits of the Turtles, and we're putting them in a comic aimed squarely at, I guess, 13-year-olds, and adults presumably would also like it. Somewhere.
Also cool 90s kids.
Yeah.
I mean, that feels like the pitch to me, because I watched the movie, which is a very hard PG-13, super violent, and
yeah, I was surprised by that. I guess the Turtles are. I mean, I don't know. Are they a PG-13 franchise? I thought they were a kids franchise.
Technically they are, but in the way that like the Marvel Cinematic Universe is PG-13, not the way that Batman versus Superman is PG-13.
Yeah, and like the audience has aged, so no matter what, you have Ninja Turtles fans of every age right now. Maybe not every age. I don't know if there's any 90-year-old Ninja Turtles fans. Maybe it's possible.
They were in their like late 50s, and they're like, oh, this is the greatest.
Like I'm actually into this animation. Look at that. And
but I mean, that's the cool thing about Batman and the Turtles, is that you can make Batman stuff appeals to 4-year-olds or older if you want to.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool how they're malleable that way.
Yeah.
And this is
So
also a cross publication with IDW and DC. I don't know who took the publishing lead duties on it because it is on DC Universe, so I feel like DC owns it.
My guess would be DC based on the fact that it is available. I feel like if IDW had put it out, it would not be so easy to find.
Right. That'd be my guess as well. And it's definitely written by DC people. And I think the Turtles are owned by Viacom. They're definitely Nickelodeon owned now because Eastman and Laird sold them to Nickelodeon. So.
Yeah, and I think the movies were Nickelodeon, but yeah, I completely blanked on what I was going to say.
That's all right. So I think we can just sort of jump into the issues here and get going. I'm sure you'll remember what you had to say. Just stop everything, Chris, if it's time to hear what you got to say.
There's like 8 protagonists. It's hard to remember everything going on in this book.
I didn't think it was too bad. So we've got the Turtles are first showing up at like this research station, and this lady is retelling the story to Batman where she was like, hey, we were working on this research and development thing and these turtles came in and stole it. Wow. And so Batman's like, I'm on it. I can tell they're ninjas. I gotta go after these people. And then we do get so Killer Croc is in the first issue. He's only in the first issue here, but he has nothing to do with these. So the Foot Clan is really going around stealing all this stuff so that they can make a portal to get back home. And they've kidnapped what is the scientist they keep referring to throughout the whole thing? Dr.
Right?
Naveen Khan. Yeah. And he's like the leader in portal technology, I guess.
Leader in MacGuffin technology.
Yeah. But Killer Croc has been watching this and he says, hey, I know Batman is probably going to wait at this next site that might get robbed, which Killer Croc is actually kind of thinking like a detective here. He's like, I think they're going to go after this spot next. If he wanted to be a good guy, he probably could have been able to help Batman here. But he's like traveling through the sewers to get to this place and he finds the Turtles' lair instead. And he's like, what the hell is this? Is there a kid living down here?
Which is funny because the Turtles have been transported to another dimension and still set up shop with video games in the sewers.
Of course.
And they're still ordering pizzas. They're still saying just leave it on the street, which I don't think that would work. I think right off the bat the pizza place would be like, no, we can't deliver to a freaking alley.
I feel like when I worked at Pizza Hut, if they had given me enough of a tip, I would. Especially if it was like a guaranteed tip. I'd be like, yeah, sure. Like if the money was there and it was like $5 to $10 more than the order, I'm like, sure. I don't care.
Yeah. If you're tipping, $20 on a pizza, you'll leave it wherever.
That makes sense. I don't know how they knew over the phone though that it was going to be such a big tip. I guess you got to promise them. That's fair. But Killer Croc destroys Michelangelo's copy of Death Laser Pony Racers, which is so sad. He's in love with this game. So most of the time with Michelangelo and Donatello, I feel like they are not main characters in this story at all. They're there to be like Michelangelo is a silly commentary and Donatello is smart MacGuffin type commentary, and that's it. You get some story beats with Leonardo and Raphael, but like Michelangelo and Donatello, they're just there for the flavor.
I don't know if that's how classic Turtles are. But yes, it's very apparent here. And it's very apparent. There's also an animated movie, I guess I already mentioned that, based on this. And Michelangelo is like Jar Jar Binks in that movie where he says funny one-liners and no one reacts to him. Like he could be cut completely from the movie because no main character ever reacts to him.
That's how it is in the comic too. He's just like he has like.
There's cool scenes where he's like riding the dinosaur in the Batcave, but nobody reacts to it. It's a great panel, but nobody reacts to it.
I will say that there is a ton of cool stuff throughout this book that doesn't feel like it gets reacted to at all by anybody in the book.
Yeah, but I'm also happy it's here.
Exactly. I'm happy it's here. There's a lot of fun details.
I guess we'll get into it as we go, but it's a weirdly paced book, I think, because in the first issue, really nothing happens.
Right. The Batman, it's a lot of Batman doing detective work, and he goes after the Foot Clan and sees them, and, they're like, oh, the Turtles, they're not with us. The metahumans, they call them. And Shredder kills one of his lackeys who's given too much information. The Turtle, art-wise, I do think the Turtles and like anything like Splinter, any animals that get drawn throughout this book, I think they look great. Anything that is like Batman's costumes or like metal or a vehicle or like Shredder. It looks terrible. It looks like clunky and weird and just like gross. Did y'all get that at
It's
all?
very
I don't know.
muscly. There's also like this weird outlining of the coloring and the art that I'm not a super fan of. But it seems like there's like a white border around everything.
And it feels like there is like a thick outline trying to maybe replicate some of Eastman's old stuff.
Maybe that's it.
But I don't know.
There are alternate covers, at least on the DC Universe thing, of that Eastman or Laird, or maybe both of them, made for all these. And of course, they're like scratchy, like not great art that they make, but it's still like really
cool.
But they're really they make me really happy.
I do really like that. Yeah, I do. Like I said, this all feels like it's a like Xbox 360 era video game where like Batman's very blocky and muscly. Where like even when he's Bruce Wayne, he's like so muscly. You're like, good lord, dude, you're gonna like pop a blood vessel.
Yeah, and it's like cell shaded in a weird way that kind of stands out from the background a little too much. Yeah,
it's weird.
It's all like digital art stuff, which I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's already not aging great.
Yeah. But overall, the animalistic stuff was interesting. It felt wild and like, I don't know, it had something unique to it. And those variant covers are worth mentioning as well. Definitely worth checking out. The Gabriel Dell'Otto one, the fully painted, I mean, all his stuff is fully painted.
I don't think that was in my version. You read the definitive version, right?
I had the definitive version. It had all of them in the back. Cool. But yeah, Gabriel Dell'Otto's cover of, man, I mean, that's the cool thing about some of these. Like, yeah, maybe there's too many variant covers or whatever out there these days. But at the same time, it's like, hey, 20 artists, draw us a picture of Batman and Ninja Turtles. And here's what we got. Let's just show everybody. And I'm into that, I want to walk into an art gallery that's just like all of these pictures of Batman and the Ninja Turtles, because that'd be cool. Why not? Anyway.
Oh, yeah, these are awesome. I love this.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be tough to pick a screenshot for this week's episode. We got a lot of good ones.
Which you can go see on allmyfriendsareRightHere.com.
We always. Episode. Oh, I do. I put in minutes of work to get these pictures uploaded. The least you can do is check it out. So we've got. So Killer Croc's whole plan is that he wants to steal the Batmobile, which I think is a great plan. I don't know how often villains have had this plan, but I'm into it.
Is it? I've watched now the movie and the comics, so they're now starting to blend in my head. Is he wanting to basically just use? He says like any part of the Batmobile is worth like hundreds of thousands of bucks.
Yeah.
Which is legit.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, that makes sense to me. And so that's the plan. But of course, the turtles beat them up. I don't remember exactly what happens to them at the end, but they get beat up. And Batman is there by the time like the turtles stumble upon the Batmobile, and they're like, "Whoa, can't wait to meet the guy who owns this thing." And they meet Batman, and they're like, "Oh my god, he's a badass." I think this is where like the issue 2 break probably happens.
Yes.
Okay, I thought.
Yeah,
so.
It's the end of the first issue is literally like them saying hello, and then the second issue they fight. Where it's just like, really, it's all just set up for this mystery. They do make some nods to the fact that the Turtles verse is like ours. They're from New York. They have regular things, and DC they're like, this isn't even a city in our world.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, back where we're from, this is just a big open field in the state of. And they get interrupted, so we're like, "Oh, where's Gotham? We wanted to know."
It's very winky naughty, and I like that.
Yeah, I was into it too. I'm into it. So we get a nice fight scene where afterwards they're talking about like, "Hey, Batman wasn't trying to kill us. He was fighting like a detective." And they're all like, "This guy's so badass."
So
he pressed L1 during the fight so you could see their skeletons.
It was very. I was like, "All right, come on." But they're all into him. Raphael's already just kind of like whatever. But Michelangelo's making a list of all the reasons he is badass and the reasons he's not badass, which again nobody reacts to.
Yeah. Awesome.
One of the best jokes I think in this series.
Yeah.
And there's some good ones, but yeah, like the cons was like scary voice, stole Raph's sigh, it kicked our butts.
Mm-hmm. Shredder, meanwhile, has teamed up with the Penguin, and they are, plotting to take over Gotham and get home. But then Shredder, at some point, is like, "Hey, I could just take over both. I'm going to take over my world and this world," which I think is Like, you got to focus, Shredder. Just pick one or the other first. You can't try to take over two worlds at the same time. I think that's a bad idea.
He's making lemons out of lemonade if he's trapped over here.
Like, I get it, but yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
This book also, like, weirdly, maybe not weirdly, feels a lot like a Daredevil book to me. And maybe that's just the copious amount of ninjas that Batman's fighting, but it feels like a Daredevil book to me.
Yeah, it feels like the way that Shredder is teaming up with villains. Okay, the team ups don't seem to have any impact on anything that Shredder is doing, because the Penguin team up, I bet they said something about what it gains him, but it didn't really, it didn't matter. Same with Ra's al Ghul. They team up later, and I'm like, you could have just not had Penguin and Ra's al Ghul in these books, and it probably would have been just as fine. They didn't feel like very impactful.
Spoiler alert: the Penguin is not involved really in the movie. They kind of edited him out of at least teaming.
So they agreed.
I mean, it makes sense from like I like any crossover to see like two people from each universe interacting. Mm-hmm. So I'm a fan of that. And also, like, story wise, Shredder's like, I don't know this town. I'm gonna interact with the local guy who's got connections, and that's how I'll get my ins to establish myself as a crime lord.
I kind of like that. The Penguin? Yeah, I like that detail.
Like that works for me. But then once he's done that, then the Penguin doesn't matter to the story.
And it's just kind of a problem that it's hard to know what Shredder's plan is, because at first it seems like he wants to go home, then he wants to like open this portal, then he's like, I'm gonna use the mutagen to do something, and it's like, well, why? Mm-hmm. What is this accomplishing?
Yeah, he's a little all over the place with this. So meanwhile, the Turtles and Splinter, they're like digging a tunnel to Batman's lair, because Batman's defenses were not perfect, because they're turtles and they were able to see through that or something. And they meet him and they lay everything out, and they're like, oh my God, this place is so cool.
Well, so that's our break for issue 2, by the way, them getting to the Batman.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh.
So we have not had, we've had a fight with Batman after 2 issues. Between Batman and Turtles have interacted really just for one fight. But otherwise, not much is happening on the Turtle Batman interaction front.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. All right.
And why did that fight even happen? Again, I guess Batman thought that they were at the theft, so they were like connected to it, even though the foot soldiers already told him that they're not with them. They're not with them. He still gets in a fight with them, I guess, just for the fun of seeing them fight.
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes you just want to fight. I don't know.
I mean that's I can defend it. I guess is like that's how it's always done. But yeah, it doesn't make much logical sense. Right. I guess I was gonna do like a compare contrast with the movie in this, but I'll do it now. They do have their fight with Batman, but first Batman has a direct fight with Shredder, and the Turtles have a direct fight with the Penguin. So they happen they're intercut of them fighting the Penguin. So at least you're getting extra of each universe colliding. That's not just Batman and the Turtles colliding. So you get to see what Batman would fight against the Shredder, and he's like, oh, cool, this guy's like a badass ninja. He's got legit ninja training is what Batman's thinking in his head. And so that's really interesting. And then it's also just fun seeing the Turtles fight the Penguin's goons, and see his umbrella stuff. And so you at least get them fighting the world more logically than just picking a fight with Batman.
Yeah, I think I would like that better, is if there was more of a misunderstanding and more of living in the world of Gotham City. So if they did something caught the Riddler or whatever, and then that would be a thing that Batman would be like, maybe they're okay,
Right.
And instead, go ahead. I guess the contrapositive of that is this book to me is not very well paced, because we're at the end of the second issue. They have not teamed up at all. There's, we're taking our sweet time. This is 2010s comics, where I feel like if this was in the 70s, this would have been 2 issues, the 6-issue series, because it takes its sweet time getting to the fireworks factory.
What we paid for is Batman and Turtles interacting, which we really haven't had. But also we don't know what the plot is, and we really haven't had that much flavor of them interacting with each other's universes. So
it does feel like I am getting a greatest hits of a lot of Turtle stuff and greatest hits of a lot of Batman stuff, but not really seeing them interact.
Right.
And the pacing issues I think come up more on the opposite side a little later here.
Because they have to rush once they have a bunch of fights in the last 2 issues. But the third issue, I did like the time jump of like now they're together, but then it goes back and like has to explain everything about how this happened. I'm like, this could have been 1 page of like they're here, and I understand. Like I get like Vince was saying the dinosaur joke is funny and everything, but then like Donatello being so impressed by all the gadgets and everything, I'm like, this is a little much. And then Raphael, who seemingly hates Batman because he got beat up by him, but he's a maniac. Look at all these collections he has from his villains, and he's got all these masks. He's crazy. Which doesn't, again, I'm spoiling my final thoughts. None of the emotional, like Batman Raphael stuff works at all for me. I hated all of that.
Oh, it's
the
terrible.
rest of the book was okay. I was like, but I hated Raphael and Batman bonding.
So can I be frank with you? I agree with everything that you're saying, and I think this was a terrible book that I loved reading. I was totally still on board at this point, and I was just like, I don't give a shit. Like, this is exactly what I wanted this book to be.
I don't think, I like all the fun stuff. It's just, like, all the emotional stuff. I'm like, why are you doing this?
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah.
Kia, I think you would like the movie. I think.
Yeah?
Because it's just more of this, but it's better paced. And has got more like smarter character beats. Like this is a first draft for a movie that's not great, but much better than this. Like it at least like has like near the end, Batman says like, you turtles, like I'm gonna do this on my own because you turtles are fuck ups and I'm not dealing with you guys. And then Raphael like has this realization like, that's what I do to my brothers whenever they piss me off. I go off on my own. But that's a dick move coming from Batman. Maybe I'm being a dick. And so, like, Raphael has character growth by seeing Batman being an asshole. And I'm like, and then he can take that back to him. He can take that back to him.
Okay, so
that's better. I do like that better than, I guess we'll get to it in the next issue.
Yeah.
The next issue is literally just about Raphael and Batman becoming friends. And I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah. So first off, there we do get some like actual plot and like a little bit of urgency to the story, which I appreciated, which was that the chemical makeup of this dimension is different from the other dimension, which is some dumb fucking science, but there it is. And because of that, the mutagen that is in the turtles' bodies is going to wear off because it, I guess, doesn't exist in this world. I don't know.
Yeah, they're gonna revert back if they stay too long in this universe.
Right. And so they gotta find a way back. And so Raphael's also pissed that everyone's just like, whoa, this Batman's so cool, and they're partying and playing video games and stuff. And they're like, we gotta get to work. And Batman sucks. Or something. I don't know. So he's like, hey, I'm gonna get out of here. And Shredder is now teamed up with Ra's al Ghul, and the doctor's head explodes. When did that happen? I wrote that the doctor's head exploded, which felt extreme.
Yeah, they sabotage Shredder's plan. This is the end of the third issue, and they're like, but we saved the doctor, so we can get our own transportation. And then Shredder, I guess, explodes the doctor, so he's dead.
Yeah. The weirdest pacing in this book, it's sometimes jarring because they're like, oh, well, it looks like we got to go over here. Let's go over here. And then the next page, it's like, they're there. And I'm like, oh, wait, okay, that happened fast. But that's okay. I think I get it. It's fine.
Yeah, they have a big fight at the end of the third issue that basically, it's, I guess, we're at the halfway point. So it's like, we have no way home. What are we going to do? A problem that is quickly resolved. But that's kind of the setup, is that they've foiled Shredder's plan, but they're stranded in Gotham City. So I said, the fourth issue, instead of solving that problem, mostly is about Raphael storming off, doing what he does.
Well, the problem doesn't need to be solved because they throw the Foot Clan in Arkham, and that's it. And nobody responds to anything over there. And as you expect, the Joker's there. He's watching all this stuff go down. And he's like, hey, cool, what's going on? I know there's something happening out there. Cool. Yeah? No? All right.
Yeah. And he's like, can I be in this book? And they're like, barely, yes.
No. Yeah. Like, that's all you get. That's your only line. Sorry. There's lots of pizza being delivered to Wayne Manor these days. Strange. I wonder why. And yeah, Raph is pissed that everyone's partying. This is when he goes out solo.
Those billionaires and their pizza parties. I've heard all about this on the internet.
Alfred hates Michelangelo, by the way.
Alfred comes in with a shotgun, ready to fend off these weird turtles, and Batman's like, "Stand down, Alfred. It's fine." I thought that was a fun moment.
Yeah, to be fair, Michelangelo is like way more annoying even than Chris O'Donnell Robin. I mean, he's like such a party dude. He's like skateboarding through Wayne Manor.
It feels
like
like DuckTales. It feels like DuckTales.
Okay,
really
so because the turtles are such children, but even before they meet the turtles, I did feel like this Alfred was a very like aggressive Alfred. Like at the very beginning, telling Batman like, "Hey, anniversary of your parents' death coming up. I think you should like listen to what I say and be careful." It didn't. It felt more like a look, man. I know what's best for you, Bruce.
Yeah,
like that kind of an Alfred.
That to me reminds me of like the Arkham games too. That he's like, immediately like Penny 1 reporting in. Check out this thing. Like he's like constantly in his ear. Where I feel like. Yeah. At least the stories of Batman I like, he's more of just like a sarcastic butler who like takes care of things, but he's not like helping him on missions all the time. Like I feel like that's too much.
He's sarcastic and he's a sounding board for Batman to speak to, so he's not just using thought bubbles.
Right. Again, like I'm just thinking of the cartoon. That's the best Batman, so that's what I'm
thinking of. Michael Keaton staring at like a computer and being like, and then if he did this and the virus, and then and then he goes, "I agree, Master Bruce." Like that's what I picture. Pithy comment. Here we go.
Yeah.
So after this, we take. I'm not sure if anyone here knew Batman's origins, but we get a nice little Batman origin story where it takes Raphael to Crime Alley, and because Raphael's like, "Hey man, you chose this life for yourself, but we were born this way. We can't choose what we do." Oh man, I'm so sad. And Batman,
Mikey's figured out that he could choose what he wants to do. Like, to be fair.
Yeah, he really can.
This is why I think when we talked about Captain America: Winter Soldier last week, like I wasn't expecting Bucky to come back because I just assume it's like a Batman story where I'm going to hear his origin every arc.
Right. Yeah. Right.
We don't see his parents being shot, but Bruce does point out that his mother was wearing pearls, which is a very odd detail. But I'm like, yep, we've all seen it in slow motion 1,000,000 times. So yes, we're there.
Pearls. Oh gosh, what a twist it would be if we learned that those weren't actually pearls. They were like an alien energy source. Somebody's got to have
written that.
Yeah. Every pearl had USB data for a secret missile defense system.
That makes so much sense.
Wow. Really, everything you thought you knew is wrong.
Everything we knew. Batman's parents were aliens? I don't know.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, secrets. All right, so on to the next. Oh, wait, no, hold on. So yeah, Raphael's like, I misunderstood you. Now you're my favorite. And the turtles, they were tracking some energy sources for their stuff, and they're like, whoa, there's an energy spike. Somebody came through a portal, and it is Casey Jones. And Casey Jones brought them 5 canisters of the mutagen so that they could survive. But then Shredder and Ra's al Ghul stole them, and they're at Arkham with all the mutagen. All this happens in like one page. Mm-hmm. It was.
Yes.
Next issue. The Penguin is important. The Foot Clan has like taken over Arkham now. We don't know exactly how. We just hear about it from the Penguin, who's an informant for Gordon, and Jim Gordon is like telling us what's going on. I don't know why the Penguin has to be there, but the Penguin is there, and poor Leonardo, he's really getting all bent out of shape from the mutagen wearing off. Bent out of shape, probably not the right phrase, but he's really struggling. Robin shows up here. I didn't expect Robin to show up, but Damian Wayne is here, and at first he's like, "What are these? Like these people broke in to play video games? What are they doing?" But Batman shows up just in time to avoid a fight. Whatever. Casey has a way to get the turtles back. So this is my big logic question. Couldn't the turtles have just like transported back and like
reset the clock?
Charged? Yeah, and like come back to help?
Right.
They never
healthy,
seem to
then come back.
Broach that at all. They don't broach it. And I wish they really had at least given us a reason of like, oh, they can't do that because of this. Because it's all I could think about.
Yeah, because I was trying to figure out like the timing of like, is it like in Mario 64 when you jump out of the water and you instantly get back to your like health? Like you resets the clock? Or is it like you got to have some type of cooldown time once you're back in there before you're allowed to go back to the... Like if you're gone 5 days, you got to wait 5 days? Like,
right, or you could have something, like to say, the portal's only open at this time, so like it's going to be like a year before we can come back. But no, like spoiler for the 6th issue, April O'Neil just pops in and is like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" So
yeah,
clearly
no big deal.
They could have made it so that this is on a ticking clock where they have to go or they don't. But instead, it's just nothing. It's just like we got the ability to travel, but we're not going to because Batman needs us.
And
Yeah,
also,
Batman-
but also in my head, I'm like, Batman handles shit like this every day. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
Batman's
think
fine.
you need the Turtles. Like, if there was a solo story where Batman just had to fight the Shredder and Ra's al Ghul, I feel like he'd win.
So I agree with you, Vince, but I do appreciate the way they sold it as like, okay, this is all of Batman's villains all together who are also now powered up with the mutagen in ways that he does not expect and does not know what to look for. And that combination, I could believe, would be overwhelming for Batman. Yes.
And specifically, it's really cool. Like, well, I guess we're now to the final issue because, man, this book chooses to
Are
bury
we?
this.
I didn't know
Well,
where
the reveal of all the different mutagen animals, which is called Deadly Mutant Arkham Inmates, is the last page of issue 5.
Okay. So this is the part where I was like, all these villains are so cool. And I'd like, they named 2 of them. And that's it. And I'm like, they could have all had so much more time to breathe and like do cool shit. And it felt like such a throwaway, like, hey, all right, bunch of mooks here.
Yeah,
that's it. Done.
Because it's
Done.
like Mr. Freeze is a polar bear.
Perfect.
Harley Quinn is like I don't know what she is in this one. Joker is a snake, and it's really cool because he's got like the Joker smile is like the diamond on his back. He's kind of like a rattlesnake or a cobra. The Penguin's obviously a penguin. I think Bane in this one is an elephant. It's really cool.
Poison Ivy was like a mantis.
Yeah. And Scarecrow
there
was
lots
a
of
crow.
cool- Yeah, yeah. I enjoyed all these. I wish they had gotten just more chance to shine because it was one of my favorite parts of the book.
So-
Just like
You would like the movie because the entire second act is this.
it's just that. It's
Yeah,
great.
they move much quicker. Like I was surprised to see this as like the finale because this is the second act of the movie, and they break them off in pairs. Also, Batgirl is in the movie, and they break like I think it's like Leo and Batman go off, and it ends up being kind of like Scooby Doo through Arkham Asylum, where they're all like in separate segments of the asylum, each having a different fight sequence. So there's multiple fight sequences where like 2 of them are fighting, 2 turtles and 1 bat character are fighting the polar bear, or they're fighting, I think she's a Venus flytrap, Poison Ivy is, but they're fighting Poison Ivy for one scene.
Okay.
And then Bane, who's more of a leopard, and he tries to break Donatello's back, but he can't because
He's a turtle.
He's got a turtle shell. So that's how they
funny.
defeat Bane. But yes, the whole second act is in Arkham Asylum. It's really cool. It gives it a lot more time.
Part of me wonders if the second or third volumes of the comic book had come out at that point when they made the movie.
They don't. I'll go into what the sequels are at the end.
All right. Never mind. Great. Yeah, like I said, all the animalistic stuff I thought like very creative art, and then they unleashed Batman's Intimidator suit that was like he had been building up as a thing. This is really, I think, the worst piece of shit looking thing in the whole comic. This Intimidator suit is god awful.
This is every video game where they're like, "We got you a new costume," and you're like, "Get me out of this immediately."
It's just like the dumbest, bulkiest. Like, what is this? There's random colors on it. I hate it.
No, it has every Turtles colors on it for some
Is that what it
fucking
is?
reason. Because the point where I was like, I had to reread it. I'm like, did the Turtles Voltron? Is what I thought. Maybe the Intimidator suit was like they were all like 4 pieces of a suit.
Well, yeah,
Megazord.
Donatello did say he made some adjustments to it, but it's like, what? It's terrible.
If the Turtles Megazorded with Batman into a giant mech, that would be pretty dope.
That would be great.
That would be cool.
I'd be into it. So Batman and Robin head out, and the Turtles are like, okay, I guess we're gonna head home while you go out and fight. And like while they're getting ready to head home, which I don't know why it didn't just happen immediately, because Leonardo is literally sick and dying right there. But in that time, Batman and Robin head to where they need to go and are in to Arkham, and they are in danger of losing. And the Turtles are all seeing this on screen before they've left. So I'm wondering why the Turtles are even still there. But they're like, oh, we can't leave now. We can't leave Batman to clean up our mess. So they go help him. And of course, they win the fight. Casey and April come back through this portal. Wow. In a stunning move, Raphael unmasks, and we see the turtle underneath.
Wow.
I don't know if we recognized him.
And
But
endangers his family by revealing his identity to the world.
And he gives Batman his mask, which I'm like, all right, Batman gonna do anything with this? Just like put it on display in one of his cases, probably.
It is so funny that the turtles like don't wear clothes canonically other than big trench coats when they're in disguise. But he looks so weird and naked without the mask. You're like, oh god, like put it back on.
Every time you see these turtles,
it's like when you take your dog's collar off, though. You're like,
yeah,
you're naked. What's going on with you? Put some clothes on. Have you no shame?
Yeah, these turtles, man. They like, and it's like somebody taking off glasses as well, where you're like, oh, your eyes look kind of weird by themselves. Like that's not how they're meant. That's not how they're meant to be.
You know, like little turtle beak faces where you like don't notice it. They seem normal when they're wearing a mask, and then when they take them off, you're like, oh no.
Yeah,
it's like the opposite. Like it's like Clark Kent. It's like that's the disguise. Their disguise is them not wearing masks.
Wow. Yeah. But that's basically the story, right? What else happens at the end? They go back through the portal and they're like, bye, nice to meet you. And that was it.
Yeah. We'll have more adventures later, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, I know it was a terrible comic, but I also loved reading it. It was so much fun. It was stupid as hell.
That's what you want out of a crossover, though, right?
I was going to say, I don't know that I would call it terrible. I think there were fun ideas. I thought there was individual things that I really liked. I do agree with Vince that, like, I haven't seen the movie, but I can totally see where you could pull out the ideas and be like, you could make this better. Like, the bones of something very cool are here. It's just that I didn't feel like it came together at all.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Much like a mutagenic, modified, I don't know, antelope or anteater, some weird animal that turns into a mutant that sucks.
Yeah, because I watched this movie. I watched this movie a couple years ago, and like it blew my mind when I'm like, "Holy shit! Joker is a snake. Mr. Freeze is a polar bear. Like this is dope shit. Like that's like instant. Like when you come up with that idea, like when you're brainstorming, like when Tinian and Williams came up with that, you're like, ah, shit, yeah, that's awesome. But the movie just hangs together better because it ties the casts in better. Like that scientist at the beginning isn't a normal scientist. It's Barbara Gordon working at that lab. So then she has the no, these turtles are legit. They're good guys. I've seen them in action. Sequence.
Yeah, skip over some of the stuff.
Yeah, it skips over it. It has it's supposed to just a rando telling Batman that. Like little things like that, though, like just a few more passes. Work, and then it devolves into the final act is them just fighting Roz and Shredder, so it's not as interesting, as sometimes action movies get. But Roz is very much in control because Shredder was working for him because Shredder wanted a Lazarus pit in that one, and
interesting.
And Shredder's just a fucked up a henchman who fucks up constantly. So Roz basically takes over and just shit talks Shredder the whole time. So it's not really a Shredder movie. So,
I do like, the comic does suggest that Raish is the correct way to pronounce his name because Raphael, I think, has a line, who's Racial Ghoul?
Yeah. But I do like calling him Roz. I like calling him Roz because then you can pretend like Kelsey Grammer is talking about him.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, oh, Roz, really?
Roz.
Roz, did you have sex with another man last night?
I love Roz. Perry Gilpin's awesome. But then the sequels, it looks like they don't really follow any of these beats. Bane takes over the Foot Clan in the second one. So I guess they fight Bane. And then the third one, Krang messes with the multiverse, and it changes history. So Batman was raised alongside the Turtles by Splinter. So, which
I'm kind of into it.
So there's that.
Yeah.
If you ever were interested in what Batman Ninja Turtles volumes 2 and 3 were, I guess they're popular. They made 3 of them and an animated movie all in the last 5 years. I guess they did well.
Does that mean that Splinter got murdered in an alley and dropped his pearls?
Well, no, I think they probably all went down in the sewers together. I bet that the turtle ooze spill probably happened at the same time that the Waynes were murdered. And Splinter took in
Wayne instead. He retreated.
Splinter took in an 8-year-old boy and 4 baby turtles.
Great. That's perfect.
Yeah, of course. That makes a lot of sense.
That works for me. All right. Maybe I might want to have to revisit these at some point. I don't know, but
they're all on DC Universe, DC Infinite, whatever it's called. So
that's great. And we are going to revisit something next time. Stay tuned to the end of the show. We'll tell you what you're reading then. But I think we might be ready to move on to Amazing Spider-Man. Anything else to say about the Ninja Turtles here?
It's fun.
They did announce recently there's a new Ninja Turtles game, like a beat 'em up coming out. I don't know if y'all saw the trailer for that. It looks great.
It's from people of the team that made the Scott Pilgrim game. And,
oh wow.
Okay.
So they made that, and the same people also made the Ninja Turtles GBA game from Game Boy Advance game from 07, which plays a lot like Scott Pilgrim for the 2007 movie. The Game Boy Advance one, not the DS one, not the whatever other systems at the time, PS3 or whatever. The Game Boy Advance.
So they're making 2007 Game Boy Advance games.
Yeah, they made.
I feel like the DS existed by then.
For 3 years. Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's a different DS game. But so they made 2 SKUs that are completely different games. But yeah, those people made Scott Pilgrim and now are making a new Ninja Turtles game in the style of the arcade game, T2 the arcade game.
Mm-hmm.
Not T2 the arcade game, that's Terminator 2 the arcade. Sorry. But whatever. And I think it's also published by the people who made the Streets of Rage 4, who also published Streets of Rage 4. So it's got a good pedigree of beat 'em up. It should be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. Should be good. But I think that means. Oh, Chris, were you about to say something before I cut you off with video games?
No, I don't think so. I think we've summarized our thoughts on this. So let's move on to Spider-Man.
Let's do it. Amazing Spider-Man #2, another 2-in-1 issue where we get 2 stories going on here. Our first issue is the Vulture, the first appearance of the Vulture.
More support for my theory that these were all like Amazing Fantasy, like half stories that were in the can. Is the last one like this? The third issue, they're like, all right, they're all 20-some page stories. We're not doing this anymore.
So do you think? Did the sales from Amazing Fantasy 15 come in, or do you think that they just started seeing like Ditko and Lee's like next 4 miniseries and like let's just pivot to this? Do you think?
I think it was probably a combination of sales and just like letters based on like Marvel at the time, because they were getting a lot of letters, and I imagine Spider-Man being what it is, that they would have gotten a lot of positive feedback like right away, and they're like, we've got something here, let's just make more of this.
It's so weird that letters were like the way that and proactive letters of people telling them y'all did a good job just doesn't seem like
because it's also bi-monthly right now. Like it's that's ending soon too. They're like, we got to make it monthly because it's like I said,
there's a 2-month gap in between like Amazing Fantasy issues and Amazing Spider-Man. Okay.
Yeah, they go issue 5 is the first time it's on a monthly schedule. Before that, it's a bi-monthly deal. Okay. So
interesting.
All right. Yeah.
So they had 2 months to write this.
I guess that checks out. Like 8-year-old me, when I read Amazing Fantasy 15, like that story blew my mind. Like the twist, like I mean, it's pretty, of the age, but better told. And I'm like, it really stuck with me. I remember that. I don't think I would have proactively written a letter to say y'all did a good job, but maybe if I was a 1962 kid, maybe I don't know.
That's all you had to do. You didn't have anything else.
Like I mean, it's not even built in the mechanisms. Like like how people use podcasts, like iTunes reviews for podcasts. Even people who don't, even though it's a weird mechanism because a lot of people don't download their podcasts off of iTunes, but whatever. Right. But do give us a 5-star review, or write us letters.
Yeah, if you leave us a review too, you are just like a reader of Spider-Man in 1963. Yeah.
And if you want to write us a letter, just like write a letter, tape it to the a pole in the alley with a $20 bill, and we'll get it. We'll know it's there.
Both Vince and I, former pizza delivery man, confirm we will do almost anything for $20 if you're doing that job.
Perfect.
The $20 tip is like will pay for gas for the night by itself. So.
Just don't write your letters like the Vulture did and tie them to a baseball and then throw it through our windows.
No, don't do that.
Definitely not. I have never been a pizza delivery guy, but I will still do anything for $20. All right.
So mail them at kia@theinternet.com.
So we're on to all right. So people are starting to get hit by the Vulture at the beginning of this issue, and J. Jonah Jameson says his classic line of "Give me the Vulture. I want pictures of the Vulture." That's all he's interested in.
Jameson, okay, I don't know if they established it the last issue when we read it. Jameson works at the J. Jonah Jameson Publishing Building for Now Magazine.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that a blunder because I don't think he's been introduced before.
He was in the last issue talking about how his son was awesome, but I don't know if they ever mentioned what he worked for.
Right.
Or maybe I missed that it was. I don't think it was the Bugle then, unless I'm wrong. But I guess the Bugle's not established at this point.
Right. Well, and we find out later. I mean, Now Magazine continues to be a thing, but he's doing both Now Magazine and the Daily Bugle.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
later they I don't know if they reintroduce it, but like Now magazine still exists, and it seems like it's like a Time or a Life type magazine where it's just like a weekly deal on like current events. So yeah, they want photos
Yeah.
of this criminal, the Vulture.
That
He's
checks
robbing
out.
Wall Street.
That checks out
I
more
think
than a
it's like-
newspaper because Life would make sense. As like they I'm sure they paid their photographers really well for Life.
Well, in my head canon, it's like a subsidiary thing of the Daily Bugle, and it's like that weekly thing that gets included on just Saturdays
Sure.
or Sundays. Or something like that.
Like Parade.
Now
or
magazine,
whatever.
yes, yeah.
Yeah,
something
no,
like
I'm
that.
with you there. It's just I'm also interested that it's the J. Jonah Jameson Publishing building, like a Hearst magazines type thing.
Right.
don't-
Yeah. The fact that he
I don't
seems to
know.
have the building named after him, I don't think sticks.
Yeah. Or maybe it gets bought out. Maybe he needs some more money, sells it. I don't know. We'll
And his
see.
hair's red also. He's not fully gray.
Was red? I don't even
It's
think I
got
noticed.
kind of like a brownish red on it. Yeah. He definitely has.
Yeah.
He definitely has hair color, which he doesn't have.
Yeah, it's
Well,
not white.
Yeah.
Peter Parker knows that J. Jonah Jameson wants pictures of the Vulture. He gets an idea. Says, "Hey,
An
I can take some
evil-looking idea. Peter looks evil in
Yeah.
this issue.
But he gets this. Apparently, Uncle Ben had an old miniature camera,
This
which
is cool. I didn't realize this. This is the origin.
in
of that.
well, okay. So hold on though. In 1963, to have a miniature camera like that had to cost like $8,000. That was not cheap,
Well,
right?
I'm wondering if it's actually a miniature camera. I guess they're developing the film, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because it's not like a because my mom had like brownie box cameras, which I don't know how big those were, but I remember her talking to me about those.
Yeah, I mean, like it becomes an ad in the back of comics pretty quickly. They're like spy camera things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like things like that do exist. I mean, I'm sure it's more expensive now, or more expensive then, comparatively. But yeah,
But I mean,
it's-
to get pictures of good enough quality that J. Jonah Jameson would be willing to pay a year's worth of rent, and like that much money for them, oof! I'm impressed. Good job,
Yeah.
Good job, Uncle Ben. You had an eye for quality.
yeah, it does seem like he's getting a photo of Bigfoot or whatever. Nobody can get a photo of the
Mhm.
Vulture. He's too fast. He's on the rooftops.
He's also cocky as hell, man. He sends a note to what is it, the cops or whoever's like guarding this shipment of diamonds, and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna steal this."
the cops and the media. He sends it to J. Jonah Jameson and some radio guy, and is like, "Tell everybody I'm robbing this armored car or whatever."
I shall steal the
and-
diamond shipment from under your noses, and then
That's
sign
what
in
it is,
cursive,
yeah.
the Vulture. This is like hokey villain shit, and I love it. This makes me feel like it's like a Riddler type situation almost. Without the riddles.
Yeah, I love it. I love
The
there's an
Riddler
issue-
without the riddles. Come on, what's left?
But he's like
That's the whole
taunting,
deal.
just like without the good
Yeah.
clues.
Yeah, there's an early issue of Silver Age Daredevil where Matt Murdock calls a press conference to call out the Matador, and it's just the funniest thing that it's just like, all right, everybody, get the media together. I want everyone to know the Vulture is stealing this thing. Like, who cares? But apparently the media cares. The police are there. Spider-Man has what I wouldn't call a fight. He is immediately knocked out by the Vulture.
Yeah, the Vulture throws him in a water tower, and he's like, it's too slippery. I can't get out.
Yep.
So he like goes to the
and
bottom.
no spider sense. He just gets hit in the back of the
But he
head.
has
like
spider
no.
sense to track him down earlier in the day. Like the spider sense is very inconsistent in this issue.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
it's
still kind
whenever
of
Stanley
figuring out
thinks
how
about
it works.
Yeah. But he has to like go down to the bottom of the tank of water and like propel himself up with his legs and like jump out of there. I'm like, all right, that's fine.
Sure.
But he later is like, all right, I'm gonna modify my suit to hold more web, make a thing for like some little miniature capsules. The camera as well can go in there. Okay, great. He goes sell some pictures to J. Jonah Jameson here. He says, don't credit me. Don't ask me where I got them from. Just give me some money, please. And J. Jonah Jameson goes on with it. I'm like, all right, that's I would question it, but that's okay. Also, it seems like he is now building up J. Jonah Jameson by giving him more credibility by making him the only person in the world that has pictures of Vulture, whereas he's also the guy who's like talking shit about you the most. Like, go sell to his competitors, man. Like, put this guy out of business.
I don't know. I don't know though. Like, I mean, I think that's that weird challenge. Like, we'll just use the name Tucker Carlson. Would you want to steal Tucker Carlson's money, but like immediately, but then have the downstream impact of him becoming more popular based off of your work? I feel like that's a tough challenge. Like, one, you're exploiting him and tricking him. Like,
Right.
I don't know. I feel like ultimately you should probably not take his money, but or elevate him. But
Yeah, that's where I stand, you know. But
what he should
Spidey,
do is
he's a
set
young
him
kid.
up
Spidey's a
to
young
look like a fool, and then J. Jonah Jameson's credibility's ruined, and he's taking J. Jonah Jameson's money.
That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Yes. So Spidey, meanwhile, and J. Jonah Jameson says, "Hey, if you can get me pictures of Spider-Man, I'll pay you even more." So Spidey, later goes and fights the Vulture. Oh, the Vulture enacts his plan to steal the diamonds. Everyone's like on the rooftops preparing for the Vulture, and this genius, he attacks from the sewers. He just
This gag, I read it on my phone, panel by panel, and it's kind of the same setup, multiple panels in a row of these dudes walking like, looking up in the sky like, where are the Vulture? We're looking for him. And then on the third panel, the Vulture comes out of the sewers and steals the jewels, and I'm like, this is fucking hilarious. I love it.
Great.
And I love,
Nico.
he's just going through like a subway tunnel, like he's not doing anything fancy.
Yeah,
I did like the touch of 60s New York that it's like from a farm in Staten Island is Vulture's base of operations. You're like, really, a farm?
Mm-hmm.
He also can get there, and they said seconds. I don't know if you can get anywhere from Staten Island to Manhattan in seconds.
I mean, it says the crow flies. He's direct flight, straight through, no bridges. So it wouldn't take very long if you're going like, I don't know, like 70 miles an hour directly from, some farm to Manhattan. I wouldn't think it would take long. Seconds is overstating it, I think.
We do see the Vulture like actually flying through the underground tunnels and everything. I kind of half expected him to run into the turtles down there, and I was a little bummed that he didn't. But he's like flying away. Spider-Man gets to him. He uses his he like paid attention to his science the first time, and he degravities him or something like that. Spidey uses some science on him. He takes him down, sells pictures to J. Jonah Jameson. He's got enough money to pay for a year of rent and a brand new kitchen appliances for Aunt May. What a good boy. What a good boy. I thought it was nice. It was a nice scene. We get some more of the rest of the world fleshed out with J. Jonah Jameson. We get Spider-Man's day job of being a photographer.
Yeah, I liked Spider-Man as the Vulture's like being arrested by the police. He's standing in the background of the shot, holding a camera, and he's like, "These will be great photos."
Mm-hmm. I think my favorite part was seeing Spider-Man continuing to tinker with his spider tools and mess with his web shooters and like, I've got to improve my game, and that sort of thing. Yeah. I appreciated that a lot.
Yeah. I do like that of the Silver Age Spider-Man is there's a lot more like science of like figuring out like, oh, this is this guy's powers. How can I counteract this? Whereas by like their second and third appearance, it's like, okay, we know what you're gonna do. You kind of got your, you insulate yourself against Electro. You do whatever against the Sandman. It becomes kind of old hat, but it is cool as he's discovering all these new villains. Like, how can I outwit them?
I'm also I like that he's not fully formed and that these things are like developing like as he goes, like the idea of like the web shooters and the extra web cartridge and the belt and the idea that he's gonna get money for pictures. Like that wasn't in the first issue. We're still missing like his supporting cast outside of Jameson and Flash Thompson.
Yeah, Flash Thompson and I guess Liz a little bit are like the only two we've seen.
Yeah, we didn't mention a lot of people are, constantly calling Parker a nerd because he's going to go do science stuff, and like everyone's standing there waiting for the Falcon to show up for the Vulture to show up, and he just like Spider-Man's like, oh, I better go change into my Spider-Man costume just in case, and they're like, oh, Parker can't handle it, he's too scared, like they do.
Yeah, like they do when there's a massive violent event happening in public.
Yeah,
like you wimp, you ran away. Yeah, I fucking did.
Yeah,
you should have stood there and been in danger like me. Don't worry. I do think the Flash Thompson like subplot that just keeps going, like it's so good. I love it.
It is.
It
really
works.
is.
It really does. This is all working despite like a lot of the portions of Spider-Man that I know don't exist yet. But I like seeing it actually like logically building towards it and not it just coming fully formed. Like I'm more used to like this is this and I've got these supporting cast and like we're adding to it and we're adding to like the nuances and like those internet asking those questions of like, well, what happens if he runs out of webbing? And it's like I got that in issue 2. I already figured that shit out. Like I really like that they're heading off so many lampshaded questions like at the pass.
Right, and they're like, Amazing Fantasy. He's trying to get money. Issue 1, he tries to join the FF. Like, it's been a recurring thing that he's like, how can I monetize being Spider-Man? And like, he's finally hit on something that seems to work.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are talking like we're done with this issue, but there is a second story.
Yeah, they're like, what are they, like 15 and 10 is basically how they're breaking down?
Yeah. So, and this story is definitely like a recycled Amazing Fantasy story. Like, you could easily take Spider-Man out of this, and it's the same story.
This is like a weird Tales of Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. With like a twist ending kind of deal. So Parker's at school, and Professor Cobwell, the most famous electrician or electronic scientist, whatever, in town, needs help from the best science student he can find, which seems a little bit like he's just taking advantage of these smart kids, and using them to like go do his chores. But he is saying, hey, Parker, you're going to come to my place tomorrow. Stop here, pick up a radio, and we're going to do some work. And so Parker goes to the tinkerer's shop on the way there, and he's like, oh, it's kind of a creepy place, weird spot. And his spider sense is going off, but he's like, nah, I'm sure it's fine. Turns out there's aliens underground, and they have made special modifications to this radio. And the tinkerer is only charging a dime so that he can repair lots and lots of radios. And everyone in town hears about his great deal, and they're bringing them radios from far and wide so that he can repair their radios, and he's going to make special modifications. We don't even learn what these modifications were, do we? He just is making modifications to them.
Yeah, anyway. So they had like surveillance equipment on like all the Department of Defense something or whatever, like right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the plan is exactly, because Spider-Man foils it.
Yeah, so Spider-Man brings the radio back to the Professor Cobwell, and I don't know what Professor Cobwell goes to do, but Spider-Man is just like, hey, my spider sense is still going off. So let me go. I'm picking up the same waves from when I was at the Tinkerer's place. Let me look in this radio. Oh, well, golly, there's stuff in this radio that doesn't belong in here. And he goes to investigate. That's all he really says. Again, I don't know exactly what he sees, but he just says, that doesn't belong in a radio. He goes to investigate. He fights these aliens down here who look just so out of place that I love them. They're just like in this underground building where they're repairing radios, and they're aliens. The whole place goes up in flames as he exits. Like, the building's on fire, and people are like, well, I wonder if Spider-Man set that building on fire. A big UFO comes in over the building, and they're like, we can't go back here. They're onto us. We gotta go. And
meanwhile, the Tinkerer is like, no, don't leave without me, as he's like being caught in a fire at his place.
And Spider-Man tries to save him, like reaches out for him, but he can't do it. But we do find out at the very end that at least Spider-Man was able to grab just the mask off of his face. Oh my God. Which is also kind of a twist ending when we've already seen aliens in this story. Like, it's not a very good twist ending of like, oh, also that guy was an alien. Okay, cool. I mean, I guess I kind of expected it, but that's all right.
Wow, there were multiple aliens. Just the other aliens I was expecting, but that guy being an alien, too much.
Not the greatest story. I don't know if we ever see Professor Cobwell. Does the Tinkerer show up again?
He does. Yeah. So, I can tell you the rest of the story. Later, much later in the 80s, I think it's Roger Stern. They bring back the Tinkerer. He gives Black Cat her powers, her like weapons, I guess, when she doesn't have powers at first. And he becomes kind of a minor like nuisance type villain who works with the Kingpin. And it's revealed in a retcon that I think makes a lot of sense that he was not an alien, that was all a like act, done, I guess, to trick people, and that he worked with Quentin Beck before he'd become a criminal, when he's just a special effects guy, to create a realistic UFO ship and all this stuff. So they try to explain, like, we want to introduce a character who's just going to be a sort of like powering, guy who gives powers to people, and we're going to use the Tinkerer, but we're going to throw out all of the space alien stuff, and he's just a guy who's good at gadgets. And then, again, spoilers for Miles Morales on PlayStation 4 and 5, they do bring back the Tinkerer in that game in a kind of surprising way.
Mm-hmm. In a surprising way where I'm like, I know that last name, and I know that first name.
I still didn't put it together for way too long. I was embarrassed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's funny.
Isn't the Tinkerer in Homecoming also? The first Tom Holland movie? Yeah, he
I
is.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, he's just he's a dude that's with the Vulture again. He's just part of Michael Keaton's crew that works on some of the gadgets along with Shocker.
Yeah, he's the one who's again upgrading weapons for Shocker and stuff like that.
Yeah, again, if you're just gonna have a chubby dude who's gonna talk sciencey, why not make him the Tinkerer? While you're at it,
might as well. I'm for that.
It is funny also that these issues, and I think the Chameleon may have given us more back history about the Chameleon, but we don't know a damn thing about the Vulture or the Tinkerer at this point.
No,
other than they were a villain, we don't know their name.
They're bad.
They're bad.
Yeah, just bad.
And it looks like the Vulture's an old dude, but that doesn't come up.
I do like the design choice of making him an old dude so that his head does look like a vulture's head. I really appreciate that. I think it's a great design choice from the beginning.
Interesting.
Yeah. But then later on, that's where they ended up being able to okay, what if didn't for a while the Vulture had age sucking powers, right?
Definitely in the
or is
cartoon.
that just the cartoon?
In the cartoon, he definitely did.
In I think the early '90s, he got those powers, which was a weird move.
But I get it. If he's old and he wants to keep going, got to suck out some youth.
Yeah,
that's how it
works. Because I liked the Spider-Man Homecoming with Vulture that they used the Vulture. They added to his name that he would just pick apart busted technology they would find after alien fights
a raid.
With yeah, he would pick apart whatever was left over. And I guess the Vulture stealing people's youth is also him picking off the dead or just stealing stuff. So I like that there's more nuance to the name, whereas clearly it's just a dude who's a bird and he flies around. I don't know. Call him the Vulture.
Dude who's a bird.
Yeah, he's got a big nose, a big beaky nose. So
he likes diamonds. That's it.
As vultures overall,
Yes, yeah. But overall, another fun issue. We will definitely continue going on with this. What did we say? The first year at least? Who knows? Maybe we'll just go forever. But we are going.
Dr. Octopus is in the next issue.
Yes. So we had, I guess, the big debut was him getting a job. Was this issue? Otherwise, not a whole lot of firsts. But next issue, several firsts, including Dr. Octopus is on the cover, so he's going to be there.
I can't wait. Aunt May's future husband. Beautiful.
Correct.
And what else are we reading? Oh, so we're going back to a few other volumes. I think we're going to be doing a lot of volume 2s of stuff that we have really enjoyed in the past. But next episode, we are going to go back and read Locke and Key volume 2. The Netflix show is out there. We really enjoyed volume 1. And we are going on to volume 2.
Like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, a year and a half ago. And so I think we're going to plan to read another one again come Halloween. And so, might as well just do volume 2 in between here, get back into it. It's called The Head Games. Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez. Is that the same artist as the first one?
Yes, I think he's the artist for the duration of the series.
Right. Yeah, so we're going to go on to that and make sure you check out our old episode, which is episode number
114.
I didn't expect you to know that, Vince. Thanks.
I was looking it up. I figured you might tee me up for it. From October 16th, 2019. In between our Alpha Flight episode and our Jughead the Hunger episode.
That was a bad comic. Okay. But we are going to read Locke and Key, and we're going to have a better time with that. So, yeah, thanks so much for listening, everybody. Anything else we got to talk about? Vince, you got anything to plug?
That Was a Game is on our YouTube channel. All my friends are right here. I've got 2 episodes out now, Super Princess Peach and Wario Blast. I'm working on the 3rd episode now. I thought it was going to be an easy one, but then I stupidly decided to go find this one little part. I was like, oh, there's a minigame. It's called Kirby Mass Attack, but there's a minigame mode that supposedly is a Kirby RPG that you have to beat a substantial part of the game to unlock. So I was like, well, I got to do that. So I'm hoping that this Kirby RPG is not underwhelming. But
I can't wait to see it. I would be into a Kirby RPG, I think. That'd be fun. Vince, how is your Super Minds doing?
I assume it's doing great. We just released
did I say Vince? Sorry. Jeez.
Yeah, I was like, okay, ask him. Maybe he knows how it's going.
Well, we just finished our Cynthia Rothrock series.
No, it's Chris's question. Chris.
Yes, we have a new episode that should be coming out probably the same week as this, maybe the week after, about everyone's favorite Robert Downey Jr. franchise that we all know and love, Doolittle.
Shit! Are we now in the phase where y'all do your best or your worst of last year? Is that what y'all are doing?
Yes. Nice. We're going to at least do 1 or 2 of those and Doolittle. Oh, boy. I will say we did not like that movie.
Wow.
It's a very strange film that features Spider-Man's own Tom Holland, as you would expect, as a dog with glasses that is barely in the movie. That's what everybody wanted.
Why? I still don't know why they invested that money in that movie. Like, I don't.
Look, everybody loves animals who talk and wear human clothes. Okay, everybody.
Do they wear human clothes in Doctor Dolittle?
He just said they wear glasses.
Oh, I guess
the
that's true.
the dog wears, those like pins nens glasses. And
I bet there's a monkey who wears a hat, right?
Talking dog movies peaked with Homeward Bound for me.
The gorilla might wear something. I'm trying to remember, but again, we all expect Tom Holland to play a dog. The gorilla is played by what's his name from Bohemian Rhapsody and
Rami Malek.
Yes,
Oscar winner
that's who you
Rami
think
Malek.
of. Yeah, that's who you think of when you think gorilla.
Yeah.
It's full of voice acting choices like that where you're like, really? Him? Or John Cena as, God, what was John Cena? He was like just some random animal, and you're like, really? John Cena? Okay.
Not good stuff
actor.
like Norm Macdonald playing a dog and Chris Rock playing a bird. Like that's the primo stuff.
Yeah, like comedians or voice actors. I mean, I will say that Jason Mantzoukas is there as a dragonfly, and he's actually kind of funny because Jason Mantzoukas is a funny vocal performer.
Yeah, like Tom Holland and Rami Malek and John Cena aren't like vocal performers. You don't think of like, hey, that's the voice we need on this thing. Yeah, it's a little off.
Yes,
but
exactly.
I get it.
Well,
I
would love to listen to that episode because I'm never gonna watch that movie.
I think John Cena did an audiobook or something that. Yeah, that's it.
Well, you can't see him; you can only hear him.
Oh shit!
He should be more of a voice actor. Yes.
Yeah. But all right, what about me? Streaming has been a little off and on the last couple of weeks here. Life schedules, blah blah blah. But I'm doing more daytime streaming here. So if you've been checking me out, the VODs are still up there. I gotta start filling out the YouTube as well with some of the games. But Kiarrash, Kiarrash, you can check me out on Twitch. I just finished Ori and the Blind Forest. I got to figure out what I'm going to play next here.
Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Not yet. We got to put some time in between it. We can't jump to volume 2.
Year and a half, just like Locke and Key.
Right? Year and a half, then yeah, exactly. But Vince, there's a great poll on the original episode number. A great suggestion to wait a year and a half. These are all the reasons I love you.
I love you too, Kia.
Chris, you've got your stupid minds. Always willing to fill in the comic book history that we need. That's why I love you.
Thanks. I am going back to my home dimension now. I'm an alien.
Oh, God damn it. And I'm Kia. Listeners, I love you as well. We will see you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye.